Hello, happy Thursday. Today is what I call Thankful Thursday, and I'm thankful for each of you that showed up today. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Linda. And thank you, Jeff. It's so nice to see your faces. And of course, I can't forget our producer, Jenna. So we are here today to drop a little knowledge, give a little info, help out with those difficult real estate questions. I am Sarah Taylor, your host of your show today, and we have Beth Dunn, who is a rock star agent in Northern Virginia, and she is also a local resident, born and raised in Leesburg. What she loves most is helping her clients find the exact property that they're really looking for. So welcome, Beth. So happy to have you here as part of one of our experts. And she also is an expert in property management. Whether you know it or not, Jeff and Beth run the property management division for Sampson Properties. Sampson Properties has over 5,000 agents and a huge property management division. And these guys run it like a rock star and keep it moving along and keeping us serving our clients here in Northern Virginia. Welcome, Linda. Linda is the OG. I think she called herself a goat this morning. Having a little fun with that. Something fun and unique is Linda is one of our real estate experts on the show today. Welcome, Linda. She is from Falls Church and has been part of Falls Church real estate for well over, is it 20 or 25 years?
This is where the old goat comes into play. 2004, so do the math, 17?
Oh, 17, yes, 17 years, almost 18 years, rolling into 18 years. So if there's somebody that knows the city of Falls Church, Arlington, Alexandria area, it is Linda. She has lived there. She has lived it and she knows it like the back of her hand. So welcome, Linda. Happy to have you here on the call. And I cannot forget Beth's partner in crime in property management and an expert realtor. It is Jeff Taylor, owner of High Crest Contracting, runs the property management division at Sampson, and is a rockstar realtor on the JS Realty team. Welcome, Jeff. We call him our triple threat. How's it going? How's your day going?
Good. How are you?
I am good. I would love to ask everybody here. Oh, wait. Last but not least, I cannot forget to introduce Jenna. Jenna is the producer of our show. We don't do anything. She is actually operations manager, brand manager, marketing manager for the JS Realty team. Always grateful for her and all that she does for us. So I'm going to start out with you today with our fun question, Jenna. If you were famous, what would you be famous for?
Well, that's
if you were famous, what would you be famous for?
I tried to be famous when I was a little kid, but it didn't work.
Yes, because you were acting at the age of 7 in LA, correct?
Yes, but they wanted me to audition and pretend to kiss a boy, and I was like, nope, I'm out.
Oh, out early, not kissing boys.
Nope.
Completely understand.
I would probably be famous for trying a drink or drinking in every country around the world. When I go somewhere new, my mission is to find, like, are they famous for something to drink, or what's the local like drink, and I have to try it. I have to have it. Got to see what's up.
Okay, I love you wanting to be famous for drinking around the world. We need to make a show out of this, and I think we should quickly wrap that show up and make it happen so I can follow you, carry your bags, and have fun, because it sounds like a lot of fun. Question for you though, Jenna. Have you been to Epcot Center?
Yes.
Did you drink around the world there?
No.
It is the place to drink around the world. You can hit every country. Well, I believe
I've only been there once. We went without kids, and we were so focused on getting onto as many rides as we could in the short period of time we were there. We did not stop for drinks.
So no debauchery for drinking around the world at Epcot Center is what I'm hearing.
No, I like to do it in the actual country.
I love that. I love it even more. Well, I love that you want to be famous for that. Props to you. Beth, if you were famous, what would you be famous for? And I am here's my little drum roll, because I am actually a little nervous today asking Beth this question, but yeah, go for it.
There's so many options. Jeff just threw out MMA fighter.
MMA fighter, are you fighting with flip-flops or are you fighting with swords?
I fight whatever is in front of me. I mean, if it's Jeff's flip-flop, it's Jeff's flip-flop. No,
Folks, there is a story behind this.
Want to be Britney Spears?
maybe it would be me wanting to be Britney Spears, or it definitely involved me getting into mischief. And I'm thinking probably in the future I'll be famous for sure. And it's probably going to be because I own too many goats and I'm probably getting into trouble with them, like taking them to a winery as if they are a puppy. There's so many things. Goats and I have a lot in common. We both like to get in trouble.
Your emotional support goat.
They're my emotional support goat, probably for owning too many goats and just getting in trouble with them.
So we have a goat in the room and a old lady goat collector in process. Is that what I'm hearing?
A lot of goating going on.
I love it. All right, Jeff, what would you like to be famous for?
Fantasy football.
And
Win
what
the
about fantasy football would make you famous?
I would like to win one of the big championships, one of the big national championships.
All right, I like it. So a big winner with fantasy football, and he wins so big, folks, he becomes immediately famous. That's awesome. And as his wife, I like that. I'm on board with that one. Linda, how about you?
So I guess I'm going to take like the Gandhi approach here. What would I want to be famous for? For creating something, making something that would benefit society, and being able to help the world and people.
Yes, I love that.
And goats.
So Mother Teresa in the house, she's a goat, you're a goat, Linda. Beth's the old lady goat collector. I love it. There's lots of synergy happening here. And I guess I need to answer the question fairly too. If I were famous, I would like to be famous for raising the most ridiculous amount of money in the world for my favorite cause and being able to donate it directly to them to create a huge change and a ripple effect across the world. So a little heart-centered for me, not quite as fun, but I am genuine in that desire. So I love what we're all looking forward to being famous for. And we're here today to talk about an important real estate an important part of real estate that impacts a lot of people's lives positively and possibly negatively. The topic today is going to be property management. We have two property management experts in the house. We have Linda, who is an amazing realtor, in the house. And I'd like to hear from the three of you today in reference to property management. Let's start with the first part of the question. Who is property management for, and why do they want property management help? I'll open that up to Beth.
Well, property management, I think if we get down to the basics of it, is what is it and what does it entail? So property management is for somebody that has a property that they are looking to rent it out, to secure a lease on the property and have it managed by a company or person to handle the day-to-day stuff for them, the tenant interaction, the leasing process if they wanted to go that route, the maintenance calls, everything that goes into it. So you're looking a lot of people that are using property managers that own multiple properties, or one property, people that we have a lot of military families that get moved around as they do in the military, and they don't really want to sell their home. They still want to come back to it eventually. So we manage a lot of those people's properties. We have people that are in the State Department that have to go overseas that we manage it. So there's a lot of different types of people that require property management services. And then there's a lot of details that go into the managing of the properties itself. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of it.
No, and I think that's an excellent answer. I would just love to add that I think property management is also for people who maybe own vacation homes, or second homes that they don't occupy often and do want to have some sort of rental in that space too. Yeah, I love that. The next part of the question is, and this is going to be a little bit more layered, is how does it work? So I am too busy. I am a real estate professional and I have 3 houses and I don't have time to manage the house. I don't have time to manage payments, and I don't have time to manage tenants and their needs and their desires. So property management, I've sought out a property management company and they're going to take over and manage all of that for me. So how the heck does property management really work? Jeff, do you want to jump in there?
Sure. Basically, property management is for someone, like you said, that owns a property and they are not living there themselves. So instead of having it sit idle and making them no money, they decide to rent it out, get a monthly rental rate, and have it work for them, have it be an asset. So the way it works, they would call us, explain their situation. We'll talk them through the process, let them know everything that we do, collecting rent, handling maintenance calls, dealing with the tenant, any issues that they may have, dealing with the HOA. Maybe we pay their HOA payments, maybe we pay their insurance and taxes, whatever their needs are, we can handle it. And there's some paperwork involved. They would sign up with us just as much like you do when you buy a house. Paperwork that spells out exactly what we're going to do for them, what their obligations are, and make sure that everybody knows where they stand and who the players are. Then either us or another realtor will look for a tenant, rent the home to somebody great. We have a good system in place to find the right tenant for the right house. And once we get the tenant moved in, we start collecting rent and dealing with them. And if everything works well, the owner never has to worry about anything. They just get their check once a month. We let them know kind of what's going on. We'll do an inspection every 6 months. We'll do an inspection before they move in, when they move out. Everything that needs to be done, make sure the smoke alarms are working. There's a lot that goes into it, and that owner pretty much is free. So they're just free to make money, pay us a nominal fee. Unfortunately, it's not a ton that we charge. I wish it was. So that's pretty much how it works.
I love that. And so what I heard you say is you really kind of handle the whole process. You handle it from onboarding the property and understanding all the property and its needs and what the owners are looking for from the property management services, understanding that deeply, as well as you actually find a tenant for them. And I heard you say you look for a great tenant. Why is a great tenant important in this case?
Well, it's great because that person's going to be living in the owner's investment, taking care of that investment of theirs. Can be the investor's retirement plan. It could be, how they're paying their bills as well. I think a lot of people think investors are rich, and that's not necessarily the case. Some of them, rent out and lease out their properties and because they need to, or they have to, or that's how their income comes in. So you want to make sure that you're securing somebody that is in that property, that's going to take care of it, that's going to treat it with respect, that's going to most importantly also pay their rent on time. We don't want somebody that is habitually late and paying their rent or not paying it at all. and having to go through the eviction process, which is, never fun. So we feel our process and how detailed it is, and it allows us to secure a tenant as best as we can. We're pretty thorough. Outside of just asking for pay stubs, we're calling and verifying with their employer or their HR department that they are actually employed, and that if they're moving in from a different state, that their job is already lined up here, that it's not going to go away when they move here. We're verifying, with current and previous landlords, that were good tenants that paid the rent on time and they didn't have any issues with them. So we try to be as thorough and in the process as possible.
I love thorough. And I heard that there's like a lot of behind the scenes work that you're doing to assure this is actually a real human being, and not a, fake person that they've made up on paper, or that they were able to con us into believing they were somewhere else. It sounds like you're really validating that this is a real person, and that the data that comes along with them that's attached to them is also real and relevant data. I even heard you guys run criminal background checks. Is that true?
Yeah, criminal, terrorist watch list. There is the landlord tenant dispute if it goes to court. If stuff like that has gone to court, our process verifies all that information. So while it may not be 100%, I don't think anything out there is 100%. I mean, it's a real good, thorough process that we have to be able to verify as much as we can. I think, there are companies out there that only just run credit and call it the end of the day. Credit looks great. Let's accept them, but there's more to the story besides.
Yeah, and let's be real. Maybe a homeowner could have a little bit of access to some of this information, but as realtors, and because we work as a large group, we have access to this deeper level of understanding of who this is, and getting a little deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper into their background, because we are realtors and because we do have access to programs and systems that kind of everyday Joe doesn't have access to. So I really love that you guys are providing a service. It's not something that's attainable straight out on the open market. It is a system that's been purchased. It's a system that's been validated, and a system that has been shown to effectively work for people. So I love that, Beth. Thank you. Linda, when you list a real estate property for rent, what is the benefit of a homeowner using you versus a homeowner putting it out on the market for rent by owner?
As an agent, we would handle all of the marketing. We would handle the vetting. Anytime that you list, right now, the rental market, say in Falls Church, is crazy hot. You could get upwards of 20, 25 calls a day for people looking for a home. So you would vet the people. You would also have critical knowledge and data available to be able to price the home correctly for what the rent should be. Trying to think what else. And we provide from beginning to end the lease agreement. We would provide the paperwork to get that home up and listed. We would meet clients at the house to take them through clients if need be. We would be the end all be all catch all. So not only, I guess the difference with property management, you take that aspect once you get a person, but a real estate agent really does a whole bunch on the front end as well.
And what kind of clients are realtors attracting in rental market? There are clients of all sorts. So historically, realtors produce what level of clients versus maybe just anybody that could have access and could call? and show like why don't we just show it to the general public? Why aren't we just letting everybody open the door?
Well, so most every agent, if you have a rental client, you have vetted the rental client prior to working with them. So that may mean, knowing their background, their credit report, do they have any, bankruptcies, any liens, anything, you've already started the vetting process before they actually even can make an appointment to come to the house. And you also make it clear the criteria that you're looking for in a renter, number of months, years, what the desirable is. I mean, I've seen a lot of criteria out there for what people are specifically looking for. So that is communicated and narrows down the field.
Well, and I love that access, Linda. Thank you. It sounds like, up front, realtors are getting calls about properties, and before they really even think about scheduling an appointment to the house, they're pre-qualifying whether the client is the type of client we would typically be looking for, and whether they're going to fit within a broad criteria of what we're looking for. So what that means is really, listen, we all understand people have challenges and people that have things that come up in their life, health conditions that may create financial situations, family situations that create financial situations. But we're not looking for a tenant that has an extremely low credit score and a bad reference from their last landlord. A bad reference from their last landlord is not a positive thing. And so if realtors are pre-qualifying them before they even open the door, we're guaranteeing as realtors a quality that enters through the door immediately. So instead of being open to the general public, instead of having just anybody walk through your home, just like when we're listing for sale, realtors are qualifying these folks on the other side and bringing a higher level of people to you. Would anybody agree or disagree?
Yeah, it's nice having somebody that's pre-qualifying them before they even gets to the listing agent for them to even qualify them. So it's kind of, they're going through two people before they're really getting into that property and getting into a lease. It's kind of a double protective measure for the owner when you are working with realtors. Because let's be honest, I mean, if we're being quite frank about it, as a tenant agent, you don't want to run around with somebody that isn't qualified to even rent anything. It's a waste of our time. It's a waste of your time. It's let's talk about gas prices. Nobody has time to be messing around paying all those gas prices if we're driving around and showing somebody 15 properties and they're not even qualified.
Ain't nobody got time for all that.
We don't have time for that. It's a crazy market. It's a tough market. And the other thing is it's a tough renter market too. You think it's tough for buyers, it's tough for renters too. So we got to make sure that whatever applicant we're putting in front of a listing agent or a landlord's agent, it's the best of the best, because application fees are no joke either. There's a lot that goes into it. You're not getting that application fee back in at least Virginia, for you to not mess around and make sure that you're putting quality in front of that person.
I love it. You mentioned application fee. What's the average application fee per adult in Northern Virginia?
Oh, I wish there was an average. I can tell you I can tell you it's probably about $50, but it's not guaranteed, and it's not the same at every single location. So I can't really tell you an average, just because it does vary so much, but maybe plan for about 50 per person. And it's also important to plan for, even though you have a child that is your baby, that they're 18, they're most likely going to need to go through the application with that brokerage. So that's something else to keep in mind. 18 or over, staying in a property, plan to have an application done on you.
Somebody asked me the other day, why does that matter? Why do we make sure that all adults living in the property make it onto the lease. And why the heck do we care about an 18-year-old or even a wife that's never worked or doesn't have credit? Why do we care?
Couple of different reasons. Remember that we do more than just a credit check, more than just employment
Right.
verification. We want to know about the criminal history. We want to know about the eviction history. We want to know, did this 18-year-old at their previous spot, destroy the house? There's a lot that goes into that. And final would probably be, the more adults that you have there that are on the lease, even though they may not have a financial history before, they are on the hook for this rent as well. So if, mom or dad loses their job and the 18-year-old's still working, it's just another avenue for you to go off. And you never know when it may end up in court. There could be a judgment, and they could, even if it takes them a few years to pay that off, there is an injured party, a landlord potentially, and that's, 3 people to collect a garnishment for, or what have you, is better than just one. So there's a lot of reasons why they all have to be on there.
I love that, because I think a lot of people think, well, they don't make money and they don't have credit. Why does it matter? Well, sometimes it even becomes the validity of that, again, is a real human, that we don't have, a false name, or that we actually have a real individual that we can hold accountable later should we need to. Very rare that we need to hold the group accountable, but in the event it does, that is the best protection for our owners. Beth, I want to go back a little bit. Early in the conversation, you spoke to something that I just think is so incredibly valuable, and probably we should lean into it just a little bit more. When an owner owns a property in our market, I would say 95% of homes have made people money and have been a profit source, have been a source of equity, a source of profit, which means that these properties then, rise in their value, which means immediately sometimes that could be an extra 100, 200, 300,000 of equity, in addition to what the owner is currently paying down on their loan should they have one. You referenced that the property is, their investment, and that we want to protect their investment. I just think that's such a valuable topic, because in protecting someone's investment, there are a lot of things that come into play. I'd love to know, just between each one of you, maybe one top thing that comes to mind in protecting, of a way that we as realtors protect our owners' investments.
Well, I think we've given a couple, by vetting anybody that is going to go under lease under the property is number one, protection. Like we said, we want to make sure that we're putting somebody legitimate in the property that has a good history of treating properties with respect, as well as paying the rent on time. The other thing that I think probably is the number one most important job of a property manager is our inspections. I think that is the best way that we can protect the property as far as its physical state. Us going in there, we go in there in the fall and spring, every year. We're not only looking for the fact that the tenant is being respectful of it, but we're also kind of checking it out and seeing if there's any maintenance stuff that we see that we think the owner needs to address. Wood rot around a window is a big one. We want to make sure that there aren't any shingles that blew off that maybe hid behind the bush and the tenant didn't see, that could lead to leaks, anything like that. So we're not, it's kind of twofold what we're doing when we're in there in the inspections. And I do think that is pretty valuable for an owner. I think Jeff and I have encountered quite a few owners that have done property management on their own and had long-term tenants in there and had never done an inspection. And then were blown away when the tenants moved out and their house was just destroyed. And, they just didn't understand how it happened. How could they do this? Well, number one, did you vet the people did you before you put it in there? Then number two, okay, you didn't do that. Okay, well, number two, did you go in and perform inspections for it? You know, did you check it out every now and then? Well, we would do a drive-by every now and then, or no, we didn't think we could do that. Well, yeah, it's your investment. You absolutely need to do that. You need to go check on your property. You need to make sure that, you know, there's not a leak that the tenants are afraid to report because they think they're going to get charged for it, even though it's a landlord responsibility. There's 1,000 things that could go wrong if you don't have eyes on your property, and if you don't have eyes on your investment, and you've got somebody in there that's nobody's holding accountable for. That's not good.
Well, and you know, Jeff, I would love to just lean in. The best I can remember, your last series of inspections, you found a leaky sewer pipe. Who's looking for a leaky sewer pipe? I mean, I'm not, come on. So tell us, how did you find that? And what could have been the result of you letting that go long term?
Well, yeah, that was an interesting one. We do, to piggyback on what Beth said, we look under every sink, any exposed ceilings, usually in the basement. We'll look around for all the pipes. We send out reminders, of course, in the fall for people to shut off their front and rear hose bibs. So we were down in this particular house, and we were trying to make sure that they had shut their hose bib off. And we saw a pipe with, you know, what appeared to be a drip on it. So upon further inspection, it was one of the main sewer pipes that you know, was leaking. And you know, obviously you don't want that in your house for health reasons, mold, bacteria, things of that sort. So, you know, the way I actually found it was I kind of saw some staining and I touched it. And it was in fact an active, and luckily with COVID, we all had hand sanitizer.
He gave me a high five. He's like, hey.
Oh no, a
So,
poo high five?
that's how I found it. So I think actually Beth spotted it, and then I was like, "Ooh, that looks like a leak," and then I touched it. So,
Well, and we've also found HVAC systems that I think that maybe that same inspection on time period in a different property, we found a really, really slow leak on an HVAC system that was starting to rust out. It was behind.
that's right.
It was very hard to see it, but we were happy. We were just checking out the whole HVAC unit, making sure that the tenants were, you know, changing out the filters, everything that they're supposed to do. And we look behind it and we see this little drip, and then we just see all of this rust. And it's just stuff that, you know, maybe I don't think the tenant had any, they weren't being negligent, you know, we just happened to catch it. Had we not been looking for other things, we might have missed it, just because we're not perfect. I mean, you know, we're not home inspectors. We do the best that we can, but that could have been a serious cost to the owner that, you know, they had to pay for something that we caught. You know, there's just different stuff like that that pops up all the time.
Linda, what is something else that we do to protect our clients' investments?
Seriously, I mean, they've been rambling for like 10 minutes. I got nothing. The only thing I would say is that you guys probably would know better than I would. I don't know the percentage of absentee owners. And I think that's, you know, in the Northern Virginia market, we have a large international contingent coming and going. So being able to see these homes when you're overseas, you know, you can't come back and forth. If you live in Arizona and you own property here, property managers are your eyes and ears to make sure that that asset is looks as good as it needs to, it's being treated the way it needs to, and it's maintaining its value over time.
I love that. Really good feedback. Great insight, Linda. Thank you. And I would just love to add, you know, it's our belief that if you are full-time, busy individual living in Northern Virginia and don't have the time to maintain your property, to do your regular inspections, to qualify your tenants correctly, regardless of how close you are to the property, you should probably hire a property manager, because property managing isn't a 2-hour-a-year job. These guys work really hard. There is collecting rent, there's dispersing rent, there's getting vendors out to properties, there's making repairs. I'm not trying to make it out like it's rocket science, but if you're already busy, who's got time for all that? So we do advise, if you have a very busy schedule, property manager might be your best friend to kind of help you keep your investment in phenomenal shape with excellent tenants, and keep the investment rolling without the pressure or the stress of it daily. Outside of that, if you live more than 2 hours away, it's probably a good idea to have a property manager. The likelihood that you're going to be able to make it to the home in the sense that there's an emergency in time is probably pretty unlikely. Imagine water, fire, some of your more dramatic or drastic issues, but they do come up and you need to be available. Around here, it can be as silly as a derecho windstorm, blowing trees down, or pushing something, a branch through the window. You really don't know. Even if the house is in phenomenal shape, you don't know what's going to happen day in, day out. And so really consider, if you're going into investing, or if you're thinking about buying a second home and you want to rent out your current home, great idea, guys. Fantastic idea. We are here to support that. And we've got Beth and Jeff who are here to support all of your property management needs. We've got Linda who's going to lease the real estate for you, qualify the tenant, get them in place, get the lease written up. And by the way, we use a Virginia lease. The lease is qualified and vetted by a group of people that are made up of realtors, attorneys, landlords, and tenants. So the way the lease was developed and the way that the lease is written is in a support of all of those people. And unless you know the lease backwards and forwards and you know your rights within it, we also advise that you reach out and hire the professional. This is what we do day in and out. And I know we might be geeks about it, but we kind of love it. We're unusual. I get it. Nobody said we were normal, and we love real estate. So anybody have a final for today, or something they'd like to add? I see
me
Linda.
too.
What's up, Linda? Oh, Beth too. The show continues. What's happening?
Me. So one other thing is, a property manager and an agent, they work as a buffer between you and the renter, or you and a potential renter. But a lot of the times this could be the home that you've lived in for 10 years and you get sent overseas for 3 years, and your home is painted mauve on the interior and it's your favorite color in the whole world, and your renter calls and says, hey, this color is terrible, can we paint it? Sometimes the beauty of a property manager, they take the emotion out of it. They can be very neutral in terms of listening to the needs of the owner and listening to the needs of the renter. And sometimes I think that individual owners, they take it too personally, and don't, I guess just sometimes maybe not follow the rules too, in terms of inspections and required items to happen. They may skip around things a little bit, or avoid, if you have 100 inspection thing, they may not care so much and inspect 10 things, whereas property managers are extremely thorough, as we have heard, and sniffing pipes and touching pipes. So.
Well, thank you, Linda. That is fabulous feedback. I saw Beth raise her hand as well.
Yeah, two things as well. In addition, and one of them kind of, piggybanks off of what Linda's saying is with the emotions and everything that's behind it. But as property managers and realtors, I think if you talk to a lot of realtors, we actually manage properties for some of our agents here at Sampson. They literally own the property and they want nothing to do with the managing of it, because they know how much it is, and they understand that they may not know, while they're a realtor, they may not understand everything that goes into property management and the different legalities that go behind it, like a property manager does. So it is a specialty that you go into, just like with commercial. real estate. You know, there's different, just like short sales, there's different specialties in real estate. This is a specialty. And for us to have our own agents here trust us with their investment property because they don't want to deal with it, that should kind of give you a little indication to it as well. Is you know, I would do the same thing if I've got another property that I own that's an investment that is not within 2 hours of me. You better believe I'm calling a local property management company to deal with it. I'm not doing it because I'm not there, and I know the value of what Jeff and I do and what that means, and how important it is to have somebody local take care of it. So I would absolutely pay somebody else to do it for me. The other thing is that because we are also realtors, we know the market and we know what updates and what renovations should be done within what the market's calling for, which is only going to increase the value of your home. So, you know, we know that mauve paint is probably not the most loved paint maybe right now, maybe still the agreeable gray, or, you know, whatever that may be, but we understand the market to elevate the value of your property. And those are some of the suggestions that we make. We've got 2 that we're in the middle of right now. One has probably never been renovated since it was built in, I don't know, Sarah,
1940.
and we finally have the owner down, and we're in the midst of the renovations right now. But, you know, an all new kitchen and an all new brand new bathroom. I mean, Sarah, what do you think that increases the value by? A lot.
I'm going to take a wild guess because I'm sure you guys have already looked into it, but does it increase it by $500 a month?
It's
Am I
about
right?
500 in
Ding, ding,
almost
ding, ding.
$500 a month in rent, but not just in rent. We're talking about overall value. If she decided in a year down the road that she wanted to sell it, Sarah could list that thing for a lot more than what it would have gone for had she not followed our guidance on doing those renovations on the property, knowing that we know what this market is as realtors as well, and what that means for value for her for listing it.
Well, and I'd like to share and just point out, I didn't know that answer because I guessed. I know that answer because I know the market. That's how I knew that answer. It's not, and to your point, Linda, to your point, Beth, is having someone who knows the market and knows real time what's happening is of such value. Yes, I was having fun with it. Yes, I did throw a number out there that seemed like a big guess, but I know the market there. So, you know, maybe I'm off by $50. Great. $50 here or there, not a huge deal, but Beth is shaking her head. I was not off $50. I might have nailed it. Do I win something? Wait, Jeff, you fantasy football? Maybe it should be me playing fantasy football.
You nailed
Just
it.
kidding.
You were right on with that. And as far as sale price value, I mean, that would be a huge number too. Let's say that, you know, she's had this place for 10 years. We've renovated it. Maybe she rents it for another 2 years. She's getting $500 extra per month. You know, that's an extra 12 grand in her pocket over the course of 2 years. And then maybe she sells it for $75,000 or $100,000 more than she would have before she renovated it. So it's, you know, it's a good thing all the way around. I think my last point was that property management's a really good value in real estate. It's 10% per month for everything we've talked about the last 40 minutes. All of those trips that we make, all of the phone calls, all of the maintenance, all of the advice, working with contractors, the inspections, 10% per month. You still get to keep 90%, and that is that 10% can be used towards your taxes. It's an expense, it's a rental expense. So, you know, it's probably more when you factor in the tax benefits, probably more like 7% out of that 10. So, you know, I think it's a great value. My other 2 points I wanted to make, as you guys mentioned, we talked to the previous landlords. The best 2 questions I think in property management are, would you rent to these people again? And are they getting their security deposit back? Some previous landlords are a little nervous to answer these types of questions. So we hit them with those 2, and it's not a yes or no, you know, type of thing with that they would run from, but would you rent to them again? That's a simple one. And are they getting the security deposit back? So based on those answers, you can imagine which way we lean after that. Just something that we picked up through the years.
I love that. I love that. And great finals from all of you. I'd like to add my final to this conversation. I think it's something unique about you all and your property management style. I think it's a value that we hold at the core of our hearts as a team. And what that is we are landlord pro. I'm going to repeat that. We are pro landlord and tenant friendly. That means that we are always working to fight for our landlords. Always. They're top of mind, the investment, them, what's happening to the house. But keeping an open line of communication, keeping a good rapport and a good relationship with the tenant offers the opportunity for us to keep the house in better shape. Someone who's not talking to you, someone who's upset, someone who is not happy in their situation in the home is not a healthy relationship to have with a tenant. It's just not. And so being tenant aggressive or just landlord pro only is not a model that we've ever found to work. The reason this model works is because we keep communication with the tenant. It's not that we're bending over backwards and doing anything and everything the tenant says. That's not what I said. What we said was, or what I said today is the value is that we keep communications going with the tenant because that's always resulted in a better way to keep the home in its optimal shape, which means your landlord's property stays in phenomenal shape through great communication. That's hard work, guys. These guys make a lot of effort at creating that rapport with both landlord and tenant. So I know there are a lot of people out there who would not even cross their mind to think in this trajectory. That's what makes this team unique. That's what makes these guys amazing. They're not cutting corners and they do the hard work it takes to make this phenomenal for all of our owners. So I want to thank you today for joining the Unscripted Real Estate Show. We are real experts in real time, giving real information, and we'd love to hear from you. If you have any more questions about real estate, feel free to reach out to us at jsrealty, the number 4, the letter u.com, or you can find us at the unscriptedshow.com. Thanks and have a great day. We'll see you next week.